Three, two, one. Here we go. All right, everybody. Welcome to the first ever episode of In the Pocket. On this podcast, we will be discussing everything and anything related to MMA, boxing, and combat sports. Today, we're kicking this off, and it's going to be every week we'll be uploading, and it'll consist of a pre-fight predictions, what's in the news in the first episode, and then post-fight reactions in the second episode. So let's jump right into it. My name is Chris Bennett, and in episodes to come, we will be joined by Will Sewell, who just so happens to be my younger brother, but also an MMA fanatic and a huge fan. We have difference of opinions in regards to fighters, but the facts are the facts. So let's jump in on that. Jon Jones, as we all know now, has failed his drug test. The A and the B sample both came back positive for performance-enhancing drugs. My initial reaction when I heard Jon Jones had failed, I was like, I'm not surprised. And to quote Nate Diaz, I'm not surprised, motherfuckers. It's too many times now, too many things. He's done too much stuff, and there's no... or he could be innocent. There's no benefit of the doubt left in my opinion. I think it's a double-edged sword with Jon Jones. I personally think that he is one of the greatest fighters ever to step foot in the octagon. But he's also the least trustworthy and the least consistent in regards to doing it right. He's I don't want to say he's been a cheat for his whole career, because who am I to comment? I'm a fan, I'm a spectator, I'm not in it, I don't have any sources, but it's just weird, the fact that prior to the fight, Cormier said these are the three fights. Really, Jon Jones is 3-0 in his UFC career, and he listed out who he'd fought, and one of those fights included Bonner. And he goes, the rest of the time, I believe he's been on steroids. It's like, let's see if he can beat me this time while he's been on steroids, without being on steroids. And then whether or not this is a one-time thing or a one-off or this is a career thing for him, it's just so strange the way that now it's come back that he actually was on performance-enhancing drugs, whether they were taken on purpose or by accident or by a tainted supplement. At this point, I don't care. He's definitely taken them. You don't fail the USADA test unless there's something in it. And he for sure messed up this time, and I think there's no coming back. I think he'll get hit with the 4-year ban, and I think that he will probably never fight in the UFC again, or if he does, it's not going to be something I'm going to want to watch too much, unless he's like there's a huge hype when he arrives, or he's fighting somebody at that time who's relevant. Because if you think about it right now, in 4 years' time, is Jon Jones really going to be relevant? Probably is not. We don't know what's going to be relevant in MMA in the next 6 months, let alone in the next 4 years. He'll always go down as one of the greatest fighters. I'm curious at this point how many people think that his whole career should be tainted by it, or is it a one-off? Well, it can't be a one-off, because last time he took a tainted supplement, and I'm saying tainted supplement with the air quotes because I just don't know if it was a tainted supplement, or then they were quoting dick pills and stuff. I think they've got ways and means to get in the loopholes to find the way to get him out of stuff, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's some sort of far-fetched defense for this. I just don't think he's going to get any sort of leeway now. I think it's too much, and I don't think the UFC really cares either. I mean, of course they care in regards to business, because he does generate a lot of money and a lot of pay-per-view buys, and he is, like I said, one of the best fighters ever to have stepped in the octagon. But I know that the relationship there, especially between him and Dana White, isn't so strong. It's not something that like, oh, Dana's going to go to bat for him. I think Dana's not too bothered. I think they're going to move on and start pushing other people. Which leads me on to the next point. Daniel Cormier, Jesus Christ. If you were Daniel Cormier, can you even imagine the ups and downs? And now he's been reinstated. So I'm reading here from ESPN that the California State Athletic Commission officially changed the result to a no contest. So that means, because it was a title fight, that the belt goes back to Cormier. So Cormier is your new light heavyweight champion. Or I don't know if it's new and still, or I don't know how you word that, and I don't even think it needs to be worded in a way, but Daniel Cormier is the light heavyweight champion again. And that's a fun thing to think about, that Cormier, after getting head kicked, knocked out on pay-per-view, the whole world saw him crying afterwards in the octagon, which, just for the record, I think is fine. I think, like he said it best in his when he broke his silence afterwards, that when you put that much work into it and that much effort into it, that of course you're going to feel that type of way about it, and I don't blame him either. He was upset. He thought he had enough to do the job, and at that moment in time, he didn't have enough to do the job. And as there's a quote from here, and he said that people are going to say stuff like, "You got handled the belt. He cheated. The reality is, for me, I don't want this title when I'm going in to be fighting in the championship anyway. Financially, it's a big difference. I don't fight as the champion as opposed to fighting for a vacant title." Now, he makes a whole lot of sense. If he takes that belt back, which he has, the price that he's going to get paid for it is just night and day. Like, he's going to get paid way more to step in the octagon as the champion than he would be fighting for the vacant, because a lot of people want to see him fight for that vacant title. But if it's a no contest, then it's as if it never happened. Regardless of what we saw, it never happened. Daniel Cormier is the champion, and that's the way it's going to be. It's very weird, though. Very, very weird. I think Cormier can't catch a break, if I'm honest. I think it's difficult for him to now go forward with this another black mark on his career, because he come out and he said that he just wasn't the better man that night. And I still believe that Jones beat him. There's no ifs or buts. I don't believe that the PEDs made the night and day difference between their skill level or between the head kick, because Cormier is known for dipping that way, and they mentioned it all the way back in one of their previous times they were slated to fight each other, that they brought it up. So I don't believe that takes away the fact from Jones's head kick. I just think that it would have helped him during training leading up to the fight, that the recovery rate, the aggression, the build-up of blood flow. I from what I've read, I believe that's how it works. And I still think Jones beat him. Regardless of the use of PEDs or not, I still think he beat him. I just know that he cheated to beat him. How much that actually helped him win, I don't know. I'm not a doctor, I'm not an athlete at that level. I have no idea. Cormier's back. Cormier's back as the as the champion of the light heavyweight division, which, in all fairness, is not very deep. Ozdemir is probably going to fight him next for the title, and the guy's had about 2-3 fights in the UFC. But if he gets it, he gets it. What else is going to happen? Ozdemir, Gustafsson, and the winner of that gets DC. DC's already beat Gustafsson, so maybe it would be interesting just to throw Ozdemir at him. I know Manawa and DC had a little bit of a beef prior to the Jones, but Manawa just got knocked out by Ozdemir, so how can you give Manawa the shot before him? That makes no sense anymore. But yeah, the light heavyweight division is a mess right now. So on this episode as well, we like to get into what to expect from the up and coming cards. So this week, let me just pull it up right here. This week we have the FS1 Fight Night, headlined by Luke Rockhold and David Branch. Now, for anybody that is unfamiliar with David Branch, he was, when it was called the World Series of Fighting, he was their middleweight and light heavyweight champion at the same time. And I watched the UFC countdown. He came out and said, he goes, yes, there's been other people to hold multiple belts in multiple divisions, but he's the first person to have defended both at the same time. Now, people are going to say, oh, World Series of Fighting, that's whatever. Like, I could probably defend that. No, let's look at it now. A perfect example of someone that just came up from the UFC and is already lined up to be a superstar is Justin Gaethje, and he was in the World Series of Fighting. I think it's called the Professional Fighters League now. Professional Fight, yeah, something like that. It's not doing so well, I don't think. I think they tried to change the format to make it more fair, and I think more people fell off from watching it. But anyway, Branch is no slouch, you know. Very well rounded, good stand-up game. He's got good hands, and he's going in there to prove a point. Like, I watched the Ariel Helwani for MMA Fighting, MMA Hour interview the other day, and he was fired up, and it was awesome to see. And I think Branch has got a good chance here. He's 21-3, and I think that for as long as he's been fighting, that's a very, very good record. The 3 losses that he had were his first stint in the UFC, and then he went out, got more well-rounded, got more experience from his belt, fought at the championship level, realized what it takes to become a champion, and now once he's made his way back into the UFC, that's what he wants to do again. His last fight was his first fight back in the UFC. Not necessarily a barn burner, but he did what he needed to do to now get the Luke Rockhold fight. And Luke Rockhold, where's he been? I think he's been off for like 2 years basically. And his last fight, he got knocked out from Bisping on 2 weeks' notice. Bisping stepped in and floored him. So, what type of Luke Rockhold do we get? I know he hasn't trained at AKA for this camp. He's training with Henry Hoof at Hard Knocks. I think it's called the Hard Knocks training facility, or Hard Knocks 365. Anyway, Henry Hoof's been his head coach for this, and Henry Hoof is, I'd say, the most known coach. Athlete that he's coached is probably, as of late, Rumble Johnson. Before he retired, he was that, but we saw how Rumble Johnson went out, and that was getting choked out from DC. Not to say that that's Hoof's fault, but Hoof is a very good kickboxer, was a very good kickboxer himself, and I think Luke Rockhold's left leg, now that it's back, he can only get better by working with other kickboxers to know how to use his weapons the best he can. And I think this is going to be interesting. I personally think that Luke might get caught. Luke might get caught slipping. He's been off for a year and a half, maybe it's longer. He's coming off a loss, losing his belt, and everybody says, how does a fighter react the first fight back after they've lost their belt? I personally think that David Branch is coming in with all the fire to go out and get it. What's he got to lose? You know, he's ranked number 9 in the division. He's fighting the number 3 rank in Luke Rockhold, the former champion. So what's the worst case scenario? He gets beat, probably stays in the same ranking, or maybe drops one, then gets a top 15, top 10 opponent, and then builds his way back up. I know he's getting older in age, but that's not to say he can't have another run if he doesn't. I don't think it's make or break if he loses or wins to Luke Rockhold. I think he could do it again. Whereas Luke Rockhold, I think if he gets beat off Branch, being the number 3 guy in his division, and he gets beat off a number 9 guy, I know it's not a huge difference, they're in the top 10, but Rockhold feels like he should be fighting for the championship again. He probably still feels like he is a champion, but he took Bisping too lightly. And I think if he comes in this and he gets, I don't know, let's just say he gets murked by Branch, like what does that do for Luke Rockhold? That's losing his belt. Does he become the Chris Weidman of this division? Is that what happens? This the Weidman went on a slump after losing his belt, getting beat, and then he's just recently won against a blown up middleweight and Kelvin Gastelum. Like, what happens if Rockhold? I think there's a lot of pressure on Rockhold to go ahead and win this one. I think he's got to go out there and prove a point if he wants to be in the chat for championship, because I don't think he is in it right now. I don't think anyone in this last year has talked about Luke Rockhold getting a rematch, Luke Rockhold fighting for a belt anytime soon. Like, you can't, when you get knocked out in the first round and it's your own fault. Like, you can't justify getting a championship fight straight away, and you definitely can't justify coming back. I know he's injured, or he got his knee looked at and he had to get some scoping work done on it and a partial ACL tear. But I just know that he's got to come back, he's got to get a win, and I believe that he's got to do it in pretty spectacular fashion. I think he's got to put that left shin into Branch's brain and knock him out. And if he does that, calls out Bisping or calls out Weidman for, well, why would he call out Weidman? He beat him. But maybe Yoel Romero, or really, if Luke Rockhold wins, I think the only real option for him to fight is the winner of Bisping GSP, and that's a whole nother story altogether. The Bisping GSP, that's a joke in my opinion. If GSP was coming back, which he is, he should have fought Woodley to try and get his belt back. I'm aware he wants to try and do something that he's not done before, but he's messed up the middleweight division, because now we're waiting on that. And if GSP beats him, which I also don't think he will do, I think Bisping will Mack truck him. I think Bisping's going to probably be too big. I think Bisping is a much better boxer than GSP. I know GSP's got an awesome jab, but I just think Bisping's a better boxer, better kickboxer on his feet. And if George tries to take him down, he's got to deal with Bisping's extra weight. Not saying he can't, just saying it's going to be different than what he had to do when he used to be the champion at the 170, you know? So let's see what Luke Rockhold does. Let's see if he can get this win. Let's see if he can come back and display the things that made him champion, because he did some good things on his run to the title. He just so happened to not do so many good things leading up to his first title defense. Like, he murked Chris Weidman. If we get that Luke Rockhold that comes out, David Branch might be in trouble here. But I think if we get the cocky, arrogant Luke Rockhold that believes he's the world's greatest and that he deserves to be the champion and not that he should earn to be the champion, I think Branch might catch him off guard. I think, and let's hope that Luke Rockhold doesn't underestimate 2 opponents in a row, because that's going to do nothing for him. And I definitely wouldn't do anything for his popularity. I don't even think that Luke Rockhold's a very well-liked fighter as it is, and I think he needs to go out there and just destroy David Branch, call out Bisping in a really cool way, and then wait for the Bisping GSP fight, and fingers crossed he gets that. If Branch wins, I think Branch has got to do the same. I think, if I'm honest, I think if Branch wins, they'll probably put him against Weidman next for a #1 contender fight, or put Branch against Yo Romero. But we'll see, and that's forgetting about Robert Whittaker. But Robert Whittaker's going to be on the bench, going to be sidelined for a little because of Yo Romero basically stamping his leg in half, because he's the interim middleweight champion right now. So he should be technically the one fighting for the belt next after Bisping GSP. But I think his injury is going to dictate what he does next in his career. And here's the question: if Whittaker, let's say, he's out for a year and a half with surgery and rehab, like, do they strip him of the interim world title? Is that a thing? Can you be stripped of the interim world title? Like, when does it not become of value anymore? Because, yeah, he can say he's the interim world title, but really, that's your golden ticket to fight the champion, to become the champion, so that you get paid the championship money always. And now, if he's out too long, does that just null and void everything that Robert Whittaker does? And is he back at the line? Because I don't think that would be fair either. I think Rockhold's got to call out Bisping and avenge his loss. I don't think they pair Rockhold back with Weidman just because of how dominant Rockhold was against Weidman. I think if Branch wins, I think they'll probably throw him to Weidman just to see where Branch really is. I mean, he beat the former champion Luke Rockhold. Why can he not beat him against a Weidman? And I just don't think Weidman's there again. Like, I just don't think Weidman's ready for it again. Maybe he is ready, but I just don't think he's done enough yet. One fight against Kelvin Gastelum, which he's really a 170 that just can't diet in the off season when he's not in camp. If he could do that, he probably would already be the champion at 170, because I think even when he did fight Woodley, he went into it with the wrong nutrition and the wrong game plan, and probably the wrong life leading up to it. We know he likes to party. We've seen it on his Instagram. But yeah, so that's my takeaway from the main event. The other fight that I guess everybody is interested in, and what I'm was interested in, was the Mike Perry versus Thiago Alves, but Thiago Alves couldn't get there because of the hurricane going on in Florida. So now they've got like a 3-day step-in notice with Reyes, and if I'm honest, I don't know who Reyes is. I'm not going to pretend like I did. I checked out his Wikipedia. Looks pretty cool. Looks like he knows how to fight. But I just think Mike Perry, that last fight he had with the elbow, the knockout with his elbow, that was just deadly. Like, who can take that? You know, nobody. And I don't know on 3 days' notice if there would be anyone to fight a UFC caliber fighter and really put work on him. You might edge him out if you're already in shape and say you already were cutting weight and planning to fight somebody in a different organization. But I think stepping in just to get into the UFC, as a lot of people do. I mean, if that's your way in, that's your way in. But it's a little bit scary if I was Reyes. Reyes is obviously confident in his abilities. Let's see how he does against Perry. But I think that's going to be one side, and I think Perry's going to do him early. And I'm just looking through the card. Coleman, Mayen, they seem quite attractive. There is other fights like Lombard's fighting again, and Moraz, and I'm looking at the prelims. Uriah Hall is fighting, and once upon a time I thought he was going to be legit, but I don't ever see Uriah Hall making any type of run towards it. He was meant to be fighting Anderson Silva at one point. That fight didn't come, and now he's on the FS1 prelims against Jotko, who I don't know who that is, and pretty sure others won. But I will watch the fight. I'll watch all the fights from the first fight all the way to the main event. So I'm sure I'll learn more about it this coming weekend. But yeah, that's that. So predictions. Let's go from it. I'm just going to do the main card. All right. And I'll start with Usman and Moraz. I'm going to go with Usman. Next fight is Gillespie versus Gonzalez, and I'm going to go Gonzalez just because he's looking hot leading into this. I think he's got a good game, and I think he's going to. I think he'll get it done. Then we've got Hector Lombard and Smith fighting. Probably's going Lombard just because he is a beast. I know he got manhandled in his last couple of fights, and I know he got run over, but I think he'll come back and he'll just launch that hand and put Smith out. And then I've got Mike Perry. And for the main event, see, this is a tough one because I maybe have two different choices. Who do I think's going to win, and who do I want to win? Who do I want to win? David Branch. Who do I think's going to win? I think Luke Rockhold's going to get it done, but I would love to see Branch get it done. So when we come back and we do the post-fight show, and he did win, I'm not going to be I'm not going to be too mad about that. But I think Rockhold will get it done. I think this is his redemption fight from his terrible fight in his first title defense, where he got smoked. But that's not to say he won't come back and put it on Branch and basically treat Branch like the Michael Bisping, like he wished he trapped Michael Bisping in the first title defense. But yeah, that's that. That's what we're going to get today. I'm hoping as we move forward, obviously, like I said, the co-host will be on moving forward. I think it's going to take a good route. I think there'll be a lot of conversation. Obviously, with this being our first episode, we've got some things to figure out. But we do appreciate you watching if you are, and I hope that you've stuck around to the end. And just to let everybody know that In the Pocket is sponsored by lovejamesmarie.com, a website that provides travel, a lot of nice coffee. I love coffee, and it's also got a decent shop and a good blog on. So go check it out. It's a family run, my family run. A lot of hard work goes into it. So lovejamesmarie.com, and we will catch you on our post-fight breakdown of this FS1 fight, Rockhold versus Branch, on the next episode. All right, thank you. Peace.